Well, everything's a government psyop, including UFOs, but that doesn't mean that there aren't UFOs. The phenomenon is real. It's been recorded for thousands of years. We know that. There's something buzzing around us in the skies, but also under the oceans, we now know, and probably underground as well. So it's real. The government's lied about it a million different ways, probably for a million different reasons, for at least 80 years. That's also confirmed. They're lying about it now. Who knows what their motives are? So they are trying to hide it still. That's a fact. My own view is that these are not aliens. There's no evidence that they've come from somewhere else. We would probably know. We've got a lot of technology that's watching what comes in and out of the atmosphere, and there's no evidence of that. I think they've been here forever.
So what Tucker Carlson may be referring to is the long legends of the Homo Capensis, or the humanoid species that has a different DNA than humans and have been in hiding and protected by the Catholic Church for thousands of years. They live in inner earth and come out only at night when the sun does not burn their skin and glare their bright blue eyes. They're acclimated for cave-like twilight. What kind of color would you be if you lived outside, if you lived in caves in inner earth and had to see in the twilight of the cave? Well, you'd have blue eyes and you'd have a white skin and red hair. And these are what these species has been called: white skin, red haired, light blue eyes. And if you see, they used to come out and destroy the human civilizations. This is why in Greece they have that bright blue-eyed monster. It's these from Tartarus or from upside of Tibet. These white giant type creatures would come out and would feed on human flesh. So Tucker may be referring to this, but there's been many theorists recently. One of the most famous is, I believe his name is Max Tunis, who called them these second species cryptoterrestrials. There was another man who's recently died about 10 years ago who basically said these crypto Homo Capensis species survived the flood and lived side by side with our species, but in different communities. And there was a World Bank whistleblower who also said that she had several of her World Bank friends in Switzerland who had seen this huge species, Homo Capensis, coneheads. So this is what I believe Tucker is referring to.
Because and a bunch of other things that are highly distressing. That there are things about this that are really disturbing. And while I hate any kind of government secrecy, and if I could prove any of this, I would say it immediately. Consequences be damned. But I think it's likely that it's darker than that, and that the U.S. government is. I say the U.S. government, people in the U.S. government, not the U.S. government, but there are parts. It's the largest human organization in history. Parts of it, have knowledge that is very, very disturbing. And I personally strongly think that there's a spiritual component to this that I don't understand and will not pretend to understand. But I think it's very clear that there's a spiritual component to this. That's one of the reasons the Vatican, and I'm not Catholic, but has been involved in this for over 100 years as an observatory, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's pretty obvious that these are not men from Mars. That, I think that was a psyop, because I think the truth is a little bit wilder and has deeper implications just than that.
But there's also a spiritual quality or an interdimensional quality, and I'll talk about that. So what Tucker obviously appears to be alluding to is this second species of humanoid that has been in hiding for thousands of years, that come out only at night. The vampire legends refer to this species. The werewolf legends refer to this species of humanoid. They may be interdimensional, but interdimensional to the point that they are not readily available to our limited human eyesight. They may slip in and out of the frequency level, and we only catch them at various times. They are referred to as the jinn or demons, and they flow through our world unseen for the most part, because they lie just outside of our light frequency, and only in times of war or extreme magnetic interference or infrared lighting these demons do appear. Many recent theorists have happened upon them. Max Tunis wrote a book about crypto-terrestrials. These are beings that live on this planet but have a different DNA genetic makeup than humans, and believe they are superior. They fall within the psychopathic autistic spectrum. And in fact, Nazis developed the idea of autistic psychopath, which have been labeled now as Asperger's. I didn't know that Asperger's also had a psychopathic component to it, but it's an autistic disorder with psychopathy, and it is native to this special DNA race that despises human, but find themselves probably going extinct. Now, the Bible also refers to the species as Adam, or the pre-Adamic race, or Adam the hermaphrodite, who cloned Eve, and then Eve ran off with a different humanoid species, and ever since, this pre-Adamic race has despised women. So the whole religious literature is also based on the hatred of women, or man with a womb, that was later created out of probably the last cataclysm when Venus appeared. If you know anything about Immanuel Velikovsky, he was a scholar and a theorist that was a good friend to Albert Einstein, and he theorized that all the planetary movements in the Bible code, etc., are all related to the planetary cataclysms that have occurred through life. So Venus appeared at the time the Earth probably went through a huge cataclysmic storm of some sort, and Venus appears and is going counterclockwise in a pentagram configuration versus the hexagram configuration of the Southern Cross. And this is where our images of the pentagram and the Star of David, or the hexagram, come from: Saturn and Venus. Now, of course, in the Bible, they call Venus Lucifer. It's the star that brightens up the sky and falls to Earth. Well, good thing Venus fell to Earth, because it caught Earth in its rotation and probably saved Earth from falling off its axis completely. So now Earth is in a gyroscopic 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1. It rotates in a gyroscope, and as it falls, it barely catches itself. As the Earth falls, it barely catches itself and comes back up like a rocking ark, Noah's Ark, or as Ezekiel's temple, with the 4 creatures of the west, the east, the north, and the south. Each of these 4 creatures have their own gyroscopic spinning wheels that keep this gyroscope of the Earth, wheels within wheels, rotating around. Now, I know some of the flat earthers aren't going to like this, but if you understand that the Earth is a flat disk, like most atoms are only 2-dimensional, but they're made up of clusters, and a cluster around a spinal configuration of a wheel in 6 figures, in 6 spokes, and just think about Ezekiel's temple, 4 creatures at different areas and facing different parts of the solar system, east, west, north, and south. they're rotating around each other, and they create a vortex-like circular figure out of 4 or 8 different flat planes that circulate around each other. So the earth is both flat and both round. Yes, it's that and more. Okay, just like the atom. Is the atom a wave, or is it a particle? Is it a particle or is it a wave? Well, it is both. Particles rotate around each other in a vortex-like beautiful speed of light type of cloud, and it appears to be a projected earth that appears to be round. And the forces of the earth are round-like, even though the projection is a flat surface, depending from which vortex cloud you're looking at. Just think of wheels within wheels, or Ezekiel's creatures that are protecting the temple, or the temple of the earth, or the ark. Remember, the ark rocks back and forth, just like the earth rocks back and forth. And then remember Christ on the cross, the southern cross, where the cross, the apex, the Golgotha, the skull, dips down and falls off its axis and is held up by, yes, the beautiful Venus that shrieks across the sky and creates the 5-fingered creature, the man with the womb, or man and woman. And the hermaphroditic race, the Homo Capensis, the pre-Adamic race, has been in hiding and is dying off. This is why they're having to make an appearance, because they're dying off and they're hoping to be rescued by us, the human creatures, or God's creatures, who have sympathy, empathy, and love, which these creatures do not have. I don't like to call them creatures, but they're basically psychopathic, autistic type of species. They don't have the same empathetic features that we have, that humans have. That has been not my theory, but all through the ages, there have been, the ring cycle, Lord of the Rings, they all refer to the various type of human-like creatures who are not quite human, but function in many of the human-like manners. And I believe that this Homo Capensis, or the coneheads, or the genetically different that Cliff High talks about, is about to be revealed. And I think this is what Tucker Carlson is talking about. You can see it through all our movies, where there is this, it's a creature, it's a species in which are completely translucent and white, because they come from the caves and inner earth, and they have blue eyes. Yes, a lot of us hybrided humans do have the blue eyes, but basically it's the interrelationship of Akhenaten, who was believed to be Moses by these creatures, and he's believed to be the first hybrid that was able to have, if you look at Akhenaten, he has breasts, he has a pregnant stomach, but he's definitely a male. Just look at the Statue of Liberty, who's pregnant but has a man's face, an Adonis face. That's a woman, man. And then if you want to look at the way the earth has ballooned out into an egg shape, look at the Liberty Bell or the Nazi Bell. That's the way gravity works. It galumps. It galumps, like Atlas falling on its knee when the earth fell off its beautiful rotating axis and fell off the center eye of the universe, the solar center of the universe, which we are trying to get back to. Is hopefully CERN can help us limp our way back to the center of the universe, or the eye of the beautiful universe, where Earth stops galumping and gyroscoping, but restarts its beautiful, smooth rotation, and we all become spiritual beings. We fell into materiality, or what Cliff High calls materium, but we fell into materiality, which is that asymmetric rotation of the atom. But hopefully we will gain that smooth rotation of being galactically centered, and the beautiful circle 360 degrees, not 365 degrees, but 360 degrees returns, and 70 times 70, not 72 times 70. These are all in the geometry of the Bible code. Adam is lived to 930 years. Well, the sun is 930 million miles away from the Earth, versus the exact the moon, which is supposed to be the smaller orb. They're both the same. The moon and the sun are identically plasma orbs. The sun is a photonic expiration of the Earth, and the moon is the electronic, or the electron, cold expiration. I'm talking about breathing in and breathing out. It's electrons and it's photons in an asymmetrical way. When you breathe out photons, it creates day. When you breathe out electrons, it creates the night. So this Earth is a living, breathing creature, just like the living, breathing creatures of Ezekiel's temple.